Glad you're able to get it to connect. There's Renee. All right. Okay, so we can go ahead and I'll give her a second to get connected, but we can call the meeting to order. It's 9:03. Happy New Year, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment before we get going? Make sure to unmute yourself if you've got something to say. All right, last call for public comment. Going once, going twice. All right, next up is approval of the meeting minutes from the November meeting. Those were sent around to commissioners on Friday. Oh, there's Jessie. I see her joining the meeting. Awesome, we have everybody. So yeah, if any commissioners want to make a motion on the minutes, or if anyone has any questions, now would be
I'll
the time
motion to approve the minutes from
Thanks.
November. Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks. Okay, next up on the agenda, we've got Julianne here from A5 to present draft marketing plan for 2023. This was something that we had discussed at prior meetings. You know, wanting to have sort of an organized game plan for how we're going to conduct marketing for Howard Street for 2023, given the budget that was approved. You know, so that we're not just sort of bouncing around chasing shiny objects throughout the year. We want to have a cohesive plan that's based on the demographics that we're trying to reach and the goals that we have for Howard Street and Jarvis Square for 2023. So I will stop my screen share and kick it over to Julianne and Anna to talk through marketing.
Awesome. I am pulling up my screen share here. Okay, great. So as Cindy mentioned, this is the Howard Street and Jarvis Square marketing plan for this year. Just sort of to keep things streamlined and to an actual calendar. So it's easy for everyone to understand here. But some goals for this marketing plan will be to continue to position Howard Street and Jarvis Square in concert with one another, communicate that both neighborhoods are moving ahead, try to reach those Loyola and Northwestern students and communities. I know that has been important. That has been an important point of discussion. So that is included in our overall marketing plan. And then another few goals here are to highlight the diversity and culture in the community and highlight the business and business stories that are on Howard Street and Jarvis Square.
Could you please tell us what your strategy is for targeting Loyola and Northwestern students?
Yes, so that will be a bit later in the presentation. Similar to previous years, we have been unable to reach the Loyola Phoenix, but we do have another strategy, and that will be to partner with their athletic department. So that will be a bit later in the presentation.
Thank you.
Cool. So audience, Chicago residents and visitors, the north and northwest suburbs. So that's Evanston primarily. As I mentioned, the Northwestern and Loyola students, some faculty, administration, and then of course, Rogers Park, Howard Street, Jarvis Square neighbors, and then lastly, entrepreneurs, hospitality and entertainment and arts as well.
You're just listing these right now, not in any priority order, is that right?
I would say in general, the most important ones would be residents and visitors, Evanston community, and then those Northwestern and Loyola students.
Okay. We can, I guess, discuss that later. That's fine. I wanted to clarify that, that's all.
Do you have another question about that? Sorry if I misunderstood.
No, I mean, to me, especially because we're trying to boost the businesses, the people in the immediate neighborhood are just as important, if not more so, than reaching out farther to people farther away who may or may not come here. So that's why I was asking a question based on this listing and the listing before that.
Okay. We can, following this call, just take another look and reprioritize anything as needed.
Well, can we not assume that Chicago residents also include actual residents of Howard Street and Jarvis Square? Like, am I, Juliana, that's a question for you. Yeah.
I'd say it's the broader Chicago residents, but
gotcha.
Yeah, but of course that in my mind would also include, you know, Rogers Park and Howard Street.
And I'm sorry, in addition, Jesse, when it was more possible before COVID and so on and other things, for certain promotions and activities, we used to target a certain area of Rogers Park or the close by communities with flyers and other sorts of things.
Yeah, no, so, I absolutely get that there. But yeah, I was kind of assuming that Chicago residents also included residents of that exact area. But yeah, if it doesn't, I'm with David, because I think a lot of that change comes from within that community as well. Like they need to know what's happening in their neighborhood as well, and they're a little more closed off to what's going on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Anna, by the way, from RPBA, and just to answer your question, David, this is not in any particular order. This is the target audience in general. And I think maybe we should wait until the presentation is over to ask questions, because many of your questions will be answered during the presentation. So if you have a pen or something just to take note of your questions, and then we can then definitely address them. But I think many of the answers will be given and provided during the plan, if that works with everyone. Thank you.
Great. Cool. So moving into the marketing tactics for how we were going to reach our target audience. Of course, outdoor advertising, as always, plays a big role, and that will include the street banners that need some updating, bus shelters, potential window clings, sandwich boards, collateral and canvassing. And then in terms of digital, of course, heavy on the website, social media, Google ads, and then a more recent addition to this year's plan will be geofencing, which I will get into and explain more in depth later. And then, of course, focusing on the placemaking events on Howard Street. So, of course, Maker Studio that's going on right now until February. The corridor plan will be a big one, and then Chalk Howard Street as always. And then some major events on Jarvis Square, Pride Fest, Jarvis Square Oktoberfest, the Artisan Mart, and then Shop Jarvis Square. And then in addition to these marketing tactics, we would like to do another photography and video session to get some updated photography of all of the local businesses on Howard Street and Jarvis Square. So we could use that in our social media, on our website, in our flyers, and, you know,
new street pole banners. We're going to be needing to order those this year.
Mm-hmm.
The sooner the better on that.
Yeah,
It's looking
I've been talking to to Tom at Bannerville.
Okay.
They're supposed to be taking down the damaged ones, but there are quite a bit of them. So we gotta get art ready to print new ones.
Okay. The other, when you're talking about, the marketing tactics, I was thinking that one of the best things we could probably do for ourselves is start marketing to people in Andersonville, because I've noticed a lot of people are coming up to our neighborhood now because the rents are getting so high in Andersonville. And we have a really good opportunity at this point to snag a whole bunch of people from Andersonville.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. I just quickly jotted that down because yeah, that's an important target audience as well.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Anna, but in spite of your comment, the questions come up and that's it. I just wanted to ask, is there going to be anything beyond this list about, let's say, what we talked about at the last meeting, doing more cooperative marketing with Evanston?
There definitely can be. I think that this is just kind of the overarching umbrella for what we're going to do. But I think that as different events and opportunities pop up with Evanston, that is something that we can definitely work into this plan.
Yeah, I think Cindy the last time talked about the potential that there seemed to be more potential for results from that than there might have been in the past.
They have hired a consultant to work on forming an SSA for their side of Howard Street. That'll take a year. But once they have their SSA, we'll be able to do a lot more with them in terms of co-op advertising, standardizing banners, all of that stuff.
Yeah, so maybe that's something that should be mentioned.
I think also this is the first time that the SSA 19 has had a comprehensive marketing plan. And so this is a kind of like testing the waters about what works and what doesn't. We are definitely looking and discuss with A5 about 2024 and then partnering with Evanston. This year, the corridor plan is going to be something major. And so we will be addressing that in our marketing in conjunction with Evanston. But what you're referring to of a more comprehensive plan between the two neighborhoods, that's the plan for 2024. Once the corridor plan has provided some data and metrics about the type of business, the audience, all of that information, and once the SSA in Evanston also is constituted, then that will be when
they can pay in at that point. They can't now.
When we all work together to create something a little bit more comprehensive as opposed to one-offs.
Yeah,
so
I
this
just
year,
wanted to talk about mentioning it in here, just acknowledging it. That's all.
Yeah, and I think we do that when we mention the corridor plan, right? Because that's with Evanston.
Yes.
Another thing that I don't see in the marketing tactics is the digital ads.
It's there. It's bullet point number 2.
That's Google ads. I'm talking about digital ads.
It includes website, social media, and geofencing.
I'm talking about if we do any digital ads on any newsletters.
I think that was sort of meant to be included in the digital umbrella, right, Julianne?
Yeah, I'd say that that's definitely included because we do.
Because it's not just our website, it's other websites.
Anna, what do you mean by a digital ad?
So if we decide to do digital ads on like Blood Club, or if we do digital ads on the Loyola website.
Well,
I mean.
That's a good idea. I like that idea a lot.
Well, we talked about it, and so I just I think I do want it named under the digital section, put digital ads as well.
Yeah,
I think that's very different from website and social media.
Very true.
Okay, and along the same lines, then, Julian, could we just put in for corridor plan, something like corridor plan involving Evanston or something like that, just to acknowledge that it exists?
Definitely, I can make those edits, and then before I share this deck, yeah, I will make those edits. Cool. Any other questions on marketing tactics before we dive in further? Cool. So in terms of some community engagement, street outreach with Loyola area and collateral and offers, of course, those sandwich boards, flyers, just outside of storefronts or near the checkout and registers, potentially some coupons, announcements before each factory theater performance, which would include, you know, potentially stopping at Howard Street Brewing Company for a quick drink or, you know, a bite somewhere on Howard Street first, and then as well as business opening parties. So to move into our current messaging, this is basically just everything that we had agreed upon in the previous years, pulled from our website. So Howard Street is on the edge of Chicago. And it's a very diverse neighborhood with multiple different array of cuisine options. This is nothing new. Similar here. Cool. Messaging currently for Jarvis Square as well, just kind of based on the website, by vibrant, diverse, and welcoming community. Jarvis Square is just a few blocks away from Howard Street. Similar, diverse, and welcoming. So just to recap and kind of refresh the messaging for this year, it'll kind of be more so focused on positioning, continuing to position Howard Street and Jarvis Square in concert to one another. So visit Howard Street and Jarvis Square to experience the shopping, global cuisine, art, theater, diverse and welcoming community. Jarvis Square is quirky, fun, and undiscovered. And then also making sure that we are telling the interesting business stories and happenings on Howard Street and Jarvis Square. Of course, this is not complete list of all of the businesses. These are just a few that we have noted. Cool. So for the budget allocation for the media plan, I know we kind of touched on some of these items here, but we have $5,000 to spend. I think that bus shelters will be a great way to reach people. And then we also have a newer, I'd say, addition to this marketing plan, which will be geofencing. That will be some of your digital ads. I will get into that as we go through each of these different packages here. We have the Daily Northwestern. We have a partnership with the Loyola Ramblers. And then we have Block Club Chicago as well. And then just kind of separately, we'll have a separate photography budget, separate street banners, and then we'll have a social media budget of $250 for boosting those ads each month. Cool. So this will be a repeat. This is something that we've done in years past for the bus shelters. So these ads with JC2Co will run for 4 weeks, and it will be on the 2 bus shelters near Loyola and Northwestern. JC2Co is typically has typically in the past been very friendly with us, and if they don't have another ad to fill the bus shelter with after the 4 weeks hit, they just leave the ad up and running. So we do get a lot of bonus impressions with JC2Co, which is just a testament to the existing relationship that we have with them. So that is great.
Whoops, can I ask, where do you know the location of the Northwestern shelters?
I can dig that up. It's in my the specific media plan that they sent me. I didn't include it in this for time's sake, but I can definitely pull that up, the exact location that the bus shelter will be.
if I remember correctly, I think some of them are probably on Sheridan Road.
Well, that's what I was wondering. So I'd like to.
The Loyola
Like
ones
to find
definitely
out.
are on Sheridan, obviously.
Right.
But
right.
I think the Northwestern ones, it's their part of Sheridan, and maybe Chicago Avenue, because those tend to be the busier bus stops for Northwestern commuters.
Right. Well, that's just what I wanted to be able to confirm. Exactly.
Yeah, and they
that
give us
sort of thing.
traffic counts for all of the bus shelters.
Mhm.
Great. So the Daily Northwestern, this is kind of touches on some of the digital advertising ads that I will be sure to note in the marketing tactic. So you have your website banner ads. So those will just be, clickable on like the little, right or left-hand side of an article that you're browsing through. They do have Twitter and Facebook ads. We ourselves are not recommending those just because we do kind of our own social media and Facebook ads. So for the Daily Northwestern, this would primarily be the website banner ads and email ads here. And then, as you can see in the readership and just kind of impression details, their website does nearly reach 350,000 people each month. Great. For the Chicago Block Club, just a quick overall snapshot of kind of something, again, as we mentioned, I think that we would be able to do something cool on the digital front, whether that's their newsletter that they have there, or potentially a digital ad on their website homepage. I think that this would be a great way to reach the wider Chicago audience here.
And I just want to, Julianne, just want to add, for Blood Club, we can do specific neighborhoods. So we can do the Rogers Park neighborhood. And so that means that it goes to Rogers Park, Uptown, and Edgewater. And so that will capture the Andersonville folks that Charlotte had mentioned. So when you do digital ads on the newsletter, you can choose if you want to do a specific region or if you want to do like Chicagoland. And so in the past, we have done the Rogers Park community. And so because they have a north side group that pairs Rogers Park, Uptown, and Edgewater in that group. So everyone in those communities that subscribes to Blood Club will get that email. So that would definitely capture those three neighborhoods that are adjacent to our Rogers Park.
Awesome. Yep. Cool. So this is the Loyola Ramblers student athletic partnership that I had mentioned previously. So this is just an overview of kind of the reach of Loyola athletics specifically. Cool. Just a little bit more on the student demographic here. I won't spend too much time, but I will share this deck following this call so everyone can dive in.
Okay. How is this carried out, this partnership? I mean, what do the students see?
So that's the next slide here, kind of what we'll get out of this package. So in-game volleyball promotions. So Win in 3 and it's free. Jarvis Square and Howard Street businesses will provide fans with special offered if the Loyola Ramblers win 3 straight sets during the 2 volleyball games. So we kind of just wanted to focus on one sport, and there's only so much that the advertising dollars can spread. So we think that volleyball games specifically would be a wonderful place to test this partnership out to see if we are able to reach these Loyola target audiences. And then we will also be able to get an email sponsorship link in their email as well. So this could be, you know, just encouraging students, faculty to make sure to visit Jarvis Square and Howard Street.
And I think we also had talked about, you know, focusing on, you know, I think at a minimum, you know, it would be that we would have, you know, like a banner or a poster up in the gym promoting Howard Street, Jarvis Square as a destination rather than individual businesses, because we recognize that, you know, we don't want to be asking people to take on the work of having to stand there during a game and hand out freebies. I think, you know, our you know, and in the interest of fairness too, the better way to promote Howard and Jarvis as destinations would be to just promote destinations, and the fact that they're close by, easily accessed by CTA or even on foot, and just sort of getting the name out there and sort of planting the idea in people's heads when they're here for a game. Since we can't get, you know, any traction with Loyola Phoenix, but we know that the athletic department responds to calls and emails, which is nice.
Perfect. Cool. So geofencing, this plays a role in the digital ads here. It's the idea of how geofencing works is you set up digital parameters around a certain area, and when people, i.e. students or faculty, walk into that area, you can you get their data based on their phone, and you can target them some ads. So we reached out to this geofencing company called Agility to help us out with kind of testing out these digital ads here. So they're not going to be really a huge budget here. It's really just to test out potentially during Chalk Howard Street and things like that. But they can also use the third-party data, meaning anything. They take people and their browsing data and then serve them ads based on what is relevant and applicable to their interests. So that is the behavioral targeting specifically. This is kind of a visual of what a potential ad would look like. It would just be a little, you know, 250 by 300 ad on a website that is clickable. And the key piece about geofencing and digital ads here is that they retarget people, which means that once someone sees like the ad, for example, it's, you know, come visit Howard Street and Jarvis Square, they will be able to retarget that person for the entire duration of the campaign. So you're not just seeing the ad once, you are repeatedly getting the ad, which is one of the major benefits to geofencing specifically. That one's an old one. Great. And then we also here just have different posters and flyers just on campus, specifically with Loyola and the gym at different games, just so that faculty and students here can keep Howard Street and Jarvis Square top of mind.
Okay.
Cool. So in addition to some of the, is there a question? Sorry.
Oh, no, Julianne, I just wanted to again clarify. The previous slide, is there a Jarvis Square flyer too at some point?
Yes.
I mean, or are they all? And
these,
I'm sorry, do all of them wind up like on the bottom where it says Experience Howard Street? We usually double up on the names, most of them. I
Yes.
understand that's just about Howard, but okay.
So yeah, these are older examples that I kind of just included, but definitely a huge piece of our flyers will be to use the Howard Street and Jarvis Square logos wherever applicable.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Great. So another piece here to the marketing plan is, of course, social media. Similar to what we've been doing in the past, we'd like to focus on posting on a weekly, twice weekly cadence here. And this gives us room for some business stories, different events on the fly, but also those brand posts. So the business stories will tell, of course, an interesting story about the business, the owners, kind of what they're offering. And then the brand posts will be kind of more so focused on visiting Howard Street and Jarvis Square as a whole, but of course, incorporating the business stories as well. Social media specific goal here will be to continue to grow Facebook and Instagram followers, increase followers on both platforms by 10% specifically, just so that we know that we can continue growing. And then, as I mentioned, the social media budget for advertising and boosting posts to reach a larger audience or a more specific audience. We're requesting the $250 just to do that effectively. These I won't spend too much time on, but these different posts are just kind of a glimpse of the more brand kind of posts that you will see in the new year. Again, I won't spend too much time on these just because we don't need to run through all of them, but overall, this is the calendar of how all of our advertising and kind of marketing efforts will play out. So always on, all year round, website, social media, Google Ads, potentially geofencing, and then the specific times for outdoor advertising in bus shelters and street banners will be March, posters and flyers April. And then we do have some of the specific events here on Howard Street and Jarvis Square.
You know, I think that what you're talking about with the geofencing is really cool. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yes. So let me back up. And it can be a little bit confusing, so please ask as many questions, and I will try to explain it to my best abilities. So for example, the Loyola volleyball game, we could set up a parameter with agility around the gym in Loyola, and then anytime somebody walks in and is on Wi-Fi, their data is kind of picked up, and from that, agility has the power and capabilities to be able to advertise directly to their smartphones or their internet browsers, because it's all connected. And so basically, it's like once you're in that facility, you are served specific ads. So yes, it's an interesting and kind of newer way to reach people. But then, as I mentioned too, it's not only that they're just seeing this ad once, it repeatedly pops up throughout the duration of the campaign to make sure that people are seeing these advertisements again, and it's not just, one and done and people forget. Does that kind of help? Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, great. Cool. Are there any other questions or comments or feedback on the plan overall, or anything overarching?
I think so far it sounds like a really good plan.
Thank you. Yes, we're excited.
Yeah, I am too.
Great. Cool. Well, I know that we mentioned those few edits to the marketing tactics and specifically coordinates of the bus shelter. So before I send this deck to Cindy, I will make those edits. And of course, feel free to reach out to me with any questions.
All right, thanks. I'll get the agenda back up on here. We've still got a couple of items on here for the day, but I recognize that we're sort of running short on time. Here's my share screen. There we go. All right. For social media recap, Julianne, if you could just send that deck around. I don't want to have it take up too much more time on the meeting because I wanted to leave some time to get to some of these other items. So I do have an update on street cleaning and litter cleanup. So Brandon has been working with Howard Area Community Center to onboard more guys for the in-house street maintenance and litter cleanup crew. They're now up to 7. He just onboarded like 3 or 4 guys last week. So we're now up to 7 with the hope that, you know, we'll be able to expand into 2 shifts for additional litter cleanup coverage. We did, in the meantime, also get pricing information from Clean Slate, which is our contractor that does litter pickup on Devon Avenue and SSA 43. Their quote for 5 and 6 days a week was far beyond, you know, what our budget could cover, but they did provide estimates for if we wanted to do 2 days per week or 3 days a week. So for 2 days a week, you can see that here. They quoted $28,240 for the year versus 3 days a week at $42,360. And we did that because we at the time we were having difficulty filling those open positions on Brandon's crew. Now that it seems like we're making some headway on that, I don't know that bringing in an outsourced agency is, you know, as urgently needed. But we have that pricing now. So if we run into problems later on in the year, it's good to have that in back pocket, so that if we do find ourselves still struggling to keep up with the litter problem on Howard Street, we could, you know, go back to that. And in the meantime, Evanston has hired an outsourcing company to do litter on Howard Street as well as their other business districts. So even before doing the SSA, I think they're just funding it out of either TIF or their public works budget. So they've got a crew now too.
This, Cindy, with this quote, do we have to sign a year contract, or is it just maybe by the month?
So typically they want, you know, if not a year, then definitely a couple of months. So, you know, we haven't signed anything yet. We just asked them for quotes. The only one that we have an active contract for right now is Devon Avenue and Westridge. So that's, you know, that doesn't affect this group. But we did reach out to them for pricing because we were kind of struggling to fill those positions.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I think this is extraordinarily high.
That's fair.
I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. I just wanted to sort of, you know, bring it to this group and let everybody know that we did, you know, ask around for that pricing, because we know that litter on Howard Street in particular has been such a problem lately. But hopefully Brandon and his team, now that they've been able to hire some additional folks, I'm hoping can get a better handle on it now. So I did want to share that with you guys. So if you see Brandon and them out and about, you know, give them a wave, say, hey. But we'll sort of leave that alone right now and let it ride. And if we end up having more problems with litter, we can, you know, open that discussion up again. But I think we are going to kind of stick with just our in-house crew for now, and see how that goes.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and I'll be honest with you, the litter on Howard Street is taking a back seat to the rats. There's rats everywhere.
Because there's litter everywhere.
There's rats everywhere. I mean, the garden section in front of my building is like a town hall for the rat kingdom.
Well, and what I'll say, you know, and this is for everybody on that. you know, we're not allowed to do baits in parkway areas like that, but you can call 311 and Streets and Sand will place bait. And I encourage everybody to do that because we know that that's been an escalating concern.
You guys can always reach out to our office and we'll submit a rat abatement. We do that every single day. I cannot tell you how many we've done in the last 6 months. So it is a massive problem all over the city as well too. And if you see them in your own yard and stuff, like you see the holes, we do recommend that you try to kick the hole in and stuff to close it up. That helps.
Thanks for that.
If you're calling 311 for rat abatement, are they actually baiting that area, or are they coming and dropping lava rocks on it? I'm specifically talking about the planter areas.
They come out, but I don't think that the poison that they're using is very effective.
I cannot comment on what kind of poison the city uses. That's a little above my grade.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I don't know specifics as to what poison they're using. You can request lava rocks, and I've done that in my other districts. That request goes through CDOT rather than Streets and Sand.
What does that do?
So the lava rocks like allow for like drainage and like water can still get to the plants and it doesn't compact the tree roots and stuff, but it also blocks up the rat burrows. And I guess it feels like bad on their feet and the rats don't like it. So they don't burrow in those tree pits that get the lava rocks.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right. I don't want lava rocks. That's why I was curious.
Yeah. Yeah. No, if you're calling 311 for rat abatement, like the standard is for them to come and do bait. Like if you want lava rocks, you have to call CDOT and tell them you want lava rocks. So yeah, if you don't want lava rocks, we won't do lava rocks.
Well, what exactly do they do with the lava rocks?
So parts of Howard Street west of you, Charlotte, a lot of the tree pits have lava rocks. So if you walk over by like Badoo, you can see what it looks like. It's instead of mulch, it's lava rocks. It's rocks.
Oh,
Really lightweight rocks.
Yeah.
With holes in them.
Uh-huh.
One thing that is sort of a detractor for lava rocks, like as a solution, is that because they're so light, like they get loose, they like get knocked out of the tree pit sometimes and get in the sidewalk, which isn't great. But it is a thing that CDOT can do if you ask them.
Oh, interesting. Good to know. Thanks.
Any other questions on street cleaning and litter cleanup before we move on? All right, just a couple of updates on 2023 events. So we have Chalk Howard Street tentatively scheduled for August 26th, so it's a Saturday again. We're working with Star Events, so they have the vendor sign up. So for food and then arts and crafts vendors, that sign up form is live on the website. So it's being managed through Star Events again, but we have the link to it on our website. I sent that information to Julianne last week. And then also there was an email that went out to all the Howard Street businesses that we had on our email list, letting people know that that's open. We also sent it to the vendors that participated last year. So that will be open until middle of July. I think July 14th is the deadline to sign up. Yeah, I mean, food is always a priority. Like we were kind of scrambling at the last minute to get enough food vendors last year. And that apparently wasn't unique to us. That was festivals sort of generally, because a lot of the restaurants that normally do it kind of were just dealing with staffing and supply chain shortages. Hopefully that won't be as big of a problem this year, but just something to keep in mind. We have not yet started hiring for bands and artists. We're going to be meeting with our team at Star Events in the next week or two to sort of work through, you know, what that outreach is going to be. Everyone that's participated in the past, I'm sure we'll be reaching out to again. Because we also are waiting to hear on a DCASE grant that we've applied to. So we applied for the Chicago Presents grant again in hopes of sort of getting some more funding that we can maybe use to expand on this event. So maybe expand the footprint onto Paulina or hiring more artists. But in the meantime, you know, the vendor application form is open. So we're getting started on planning for Chalk Howard Street for August, which is really exciting. And then Jarvis events, we're starting to get requests coming in through the Jarvis Al Fresco sort of like event, you know, scheduling request portal. And then I'm in contact with Renee and Annie and Carrie about getting dates on for the usual like bigger Jarvis Square events. So Family Pride and Oktoberfest and those type of things, so that we can make sure to get those dates blacked out on the calendar, and Artisan Market. So that's sort of what we're working on right now as far as events. It's early, but I just wanted to sort of be able to give updates. Howard Street Maker Studio is still going. It's, you know, scheduled to wrap in February, but everyone is asking us like if we can find a way to keep it going longer than that. So I'm investigating other grants that we can try to get applications in for that might allow us to extend the time period. Sandy did reach out to BACP, which is what funded the original, you know, pop-up that's going on right now. They are going to do that program again at the end of next year. So if nothing else, like we can probably bring it back next holiday season and run November to February again, assuming that the space hasn't been leased. But it seems like it's been well received so far. Particularly the weekend sessions have been drawing pretty consistent, you know, attendance from folks, which is really great to see. So we're keeping that running. We'll probably talk about it again at the February meeting
Cindy,
as we sort of wrap up. Yep.
Yeah, Cindy, on the makers, is there a photographer or someone available to take photos of, you know, the folks of the events and the folks who come, so we can use them in the future for, you know, publicity or grants or advertising or things like that?
So each of our artists in residence that's delivering programming at the site, they've been doing their own photography and sharing that with us. So we do have a folder of pictures from those weekly events, and then also from the larger, you know, the ribbon cutting and open house that we did. We've got a couple of bigger one-offs coming up later this month. So the artist that does our poetry healing circles is doing a project with Circles and Ciphers right now. They're going to be hosting an open mic night on the 27th. Barrett, who did the murals, is starting up his mural workshops later this month as well. So we've got some good programming coming out, and I've been asking all of our artists to try and take pictures to the extent that they can too, so that we have that for marketing and for the events listing page too.
Okay, great. Yeah, and maybe, you know, we can get our PR people or somebody to do another update in Block Club just on how well it's going, and send in some of the pictures or something like that.
All right, moving through the rest of this list, we've got about 10 minutes left here. RISE grant, so this is the corridor plan. So the study area for that is Howard Street from Sheridan all the way to Western, and we are working with the city of Evanston on that. So Muse Community Development is our consultant partner that we've awarded the contract to. We and our Evanston counterparts have an internal meeting where we're kicking that off tomorrow. We're going to be sitting down and sort of identifying dates to convene our steering committee, which we haven't formed yet, because we wanted to have dates first so that we can send around to everybody and be like, here's the dates that we're looking at for steering committee. You know, can you be part of it? Here's what the steering committee is going to do. Because we want to have representation from businesses, nonprofits, property owners, residents, all throughout that study area. And we want to make sure that, you know, that's a group that represents both the geography and the diversity of the neighborhood. So we haven't started that outreach yet. We just brainstormed a giant list that's got like 50 people on it of who like might be a good fit, but we haven't started reaching out and won't until we have more of a timeline sort of planned out. But just know that that's coming, and we will probably be asking some of you guys that are on the SSA commission to be part of that. And then sort of in addition to RISE grant, it sort of, when it rains, it pours, is going to be overlapping with Main Streets, which is a national training and accrediting program for business districts that we were selected to be a part of for Howard Street as well. So that group is going to be providing some training for area stakeholders in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to do an internal training with just RPBA staff, and then we're going to do it again and bring in business stakeholders and SSA commissioners. So we don't have a date for that yet. We're still sort of working through calendar to figure out what that's going to look like. I think it's a 4-hour training that can be done on Zoom. So once we I hear back from them, like what dates are available, I'm going to be reaching out to SSA commissioners about that, getting involved with that training too. And we will probably try to do it on Zoom. If it's easier for folks to break it into 2 blocks of 2 hours rather than a 4-hour straight through, we can look at doing that. Excuse me. But it's really exciting to be getting a lot of attention for Howard Street, both between the RISE grant and then now the Main Street stuff. Having both going on at the same time, I think could really create some cool synergy, but it is a lot of playing air traffic control with scheduling now.
Cindy, I definitely would like to be included in the Main Street training, regardless of other commissioners being involved.
Yeah.
Here out of our office, I'll help them with Zoom. And then the training with Legal Aid Chicago is supposed to follow on January 30th. That's going to be a call our conference. You know.
All right. I've got on here also some key dates. This comes from DPD, so these are sort of reminders for the city deadlines that we have to hit, like as an SSA. May 1st is a big one because that is the deadline by which we have to have reviewed the annual audit for the prior year with SSA commissioners. So that is something that we'll do at the April meeting, most likely. And that's where Joy comes and presents the audit findings. So if you were here last year, it's just basically going to be that again, because we have to submit the report to the city through SharePoint by May 1st. Also, more importantly for each of you that are on the commission, is both city and county ethics forms are due May 1st of 2023. I'm going to send out reminders, and Mark Roshan at the city, I'm sure will as well. But that is a super important deadline for you to not miss, because if you do miss it and are late, the city will fine the snot out of you, and it's not fun. I had 2 commissioners on 2 different SSAs rack up thousands of dollars in fines last year for not turning in this form on time. And there's nothing I can do to fix it. So please turn in your form on time.
Just so everyone's aware, it's like $200 a day.
Yeah, it's no joke.
Cindy, how early can we submit the you know, whatever you want to call it, what do they call it?
The city and county ethics form. So it's the same form that you do twice. You do one for the city and you do one for the county. It's the same thing, but you have to do it twice.
How early can we put that in?
So I don't think they've sent it to us yet. Yeah, I mean, I think you can log in and do it, but they start sending reminders usually in April.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Yeah. So you'll hear more about that as we get closer to the deadline. Similar to last year, annual budget is due in mid-July. So we probably will have to move up our July meeting by a week or something to hit that deadline, which I think we did last year too, but just something to be aware of. We are probably going to be talking budget for both the June and July meetings, because they do require that we hold the budget meeting between July 10th and July 14th in order to submit final budgets by July 14th with commissioner approval. So those are the DPD dates for governance things for all SSAs citywide. I just sort of wanted to share that, update / reminder with everybody, because that's going to sort of guide meeting agendas partly for the first half of the year. But I think that sort of is everything that we had on this agenda for today. It's 9:57. So if anyone has any parting shots or last minute things for the good of the order, now's the time. And we'll wrap this meeting because I have another meeting with Kyle in like 30 minutes.
Great.
Cindy,
I'll
how
move
is
to
the
adjourn.
county money? How is the county money coming? I know that was an issue before.
Yeah, so we did start getting some of the tax revenue that was delayed since they moved the deadline into December. We did get disbursements during the month of December, and we're continuing and expecting to continue getting them in January and beyond. The other weird bit is that since second installment of last year was delayed, they are now also delaying first installment of this year, and those are now not due until May. So it's going to continue to be weird for a little bit, but we are still getting tax revenue in for SSA 19.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yep. Okay. Thank you everybody for being here. I think we had 100% attendance for commissioners this month, which is fabulous. So our next meeting is going to be February 15th. So we will see all of you then.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, sir. Oh, one last thing. Beat meetings for Howard Street. So they are shifting to every other month for in-person beat meetings. So odd number months is when they're going to be meeting. So there is one this evening at William White, but there will not be one in February. There will be one in March, but there will not be one in April. So if anyone's interested in coming to the beat meeting, I'll be there this evening. It's at William White Park at 7.
Great.
I think that is everything. Now I am actually done.
Thanks very much, Cindy.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Thanks, Cindy.
All right, have a good
Bye.
one.